Welcome everybody to the June 12th Select Board meeting. If you could all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have the acceptance and corrections of minutes from the 5/22/2023 public and non-public meeting.
I'll make a motion, we accept the 5/22/23 public and non-public minutes of the meeting with corrections if need be.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions, comments? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Great. Okay. And let's see. At this time, I'm going to call up Deputy Chief Ben Selleck, please. Oh, is he not here yet? He's not here yet. Just kidding. We'll wait. We'll wait for him. Sure. Okay. No announcements this evening. Derek, would you like to start on the Town Administrator's report, please?
Sure. Tab 7. You can start there. You've got your committee meeting scheduled for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow night is Sewer Commission in this room.
I got it.
Wednesday at 9 a.m. Highway Safety.
Yep.
And Thursday at 6 p.m. CIP.
Yep.
And then next week at 6 p.m. the Budget Committee is at the Goffstown High School Library.
Yep.
6:30 Library Trustees.
Yep.
And 7 o'clock Parks and Rec Commission.
Yep.
And 7 p.m. on Thursday is the Planning Board.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Your next page, you have your consent agenda. You have employee status reports. You have a fire captain. This is end of temporary stipend for covering the deputy chief role. You have a promotion to fire captain of community risk reduction. You have a deputy fire chief new hire. You have a part-time PEG technician. This is a transition from part-time to per diem. And you have a part-time PEG technician new hire. You also have, not listed in the public packet, but you also have camp counselors. You have 7 rehires. These are seasonal Parks and Rec. 7 rehires, 3 new. You also have seasonal lifeguards, 6 rehires, 3 new. And this afternoon we added a DPW seasonal employee. You have event permits for the Library Touch a Truck event on July 21st from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Maple Ave School. And then you have the Goffstown Main Street program and Ace Hardware co-sponsored event for BarkFest. This is a fundraiser dog walk that begins at 8:30 from Ace Hardware on Depot Street to the field behind. They're doing a loop on Kendall Hadley and Church Street. You have a deposit voucher for the Grassmere Town Hall Restoration Fund. You have financial policies that the board adopted on May 22nd. You have the capital asset policy, grants management policy, investment policy, and the return payment policy. And then you have the administrative policy, which is the policy and notice of non-discrimination that was adopted on May 22nd. And then you have notification from the fire chief of out-of-state travel.
Motion to approve the consensus agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion.
Any questions?
Yep, go ahead.
PEG technician transition to per diem and new hire. Is there additional help there?
The per diem would be, I guess, considered additional help. They're going to use him on an as-needed basis.
Which approximately how many hours?
This time of year when they're doing spring sports and they're doing the graduations and the promotion ceremonies, they'll do quite a bit. As it goes over the summer and into the fall, it'll reduce down.
And is that covered in their budget?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I'm good.
Okay. There's a motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain, opposed?
At your next page, you have your assessor's recommendations. You have a report of timber cut and tax warrant, which is recommended for map 4, lot 21-2. And you have a tax abatement application for the tax year 2022 recommended for map 34, lot 138-1.
Motion to approve the assessor's recommendation as presented.
Second.
Motion by Pete, seconded by Collis. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain?
At your next page, you have a volunteer appointment. The Conservation Commission recommends the appointment of William Cunningham as an alternate member with a term ending March 31st, 2026.
Motion to, go ahead.
Motion to appoint William Cunningham as an alternate member of the Conservation Commission with a term ending March 31st, 2026.
Second.
Motion by Collis, second by Peter. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain?
At your next page, you have dog licensing, the civil forfeiture list recommended by the town clerk. This year, we have 307 unregistered dogs from 268 households, which you'll notice is down considerably from the last few years. So the request is to authorize the town clerk and the chief of police to issue the civil forfeiture letters. A copy of the RSA and the sample letter is in your packet.
Authorize the town clerk and chief of police to issue civil forfeiture letters, including a $5 administrative fee per household, to be delivered first-class mail by the U.S. Postal Service to keepers of all unregistered dogs.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Mark. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain?
At page 34, you have a proposed wage matrix adjustment for regular non-union employees. This year we budgeted a 3.0% matrix adjustment, and you have the list of the affected grades, positions, as well as the new matrix in your packet.
This is all budgeted, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
this was
it's all
included.
within the budget,
Yep,
and it takes effect July 1st.
it'd be the first paycheck in July, yes.
Any other
Motion to
questions?
accept the proposed 3% page matrix adjustments for regular non-union personnel effective 7/1/23.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes.
Can we keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay, at page 37, you have a request from the fire chief. This is an adjustment for our non-union part-time call firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. These have not been adjusted since they were adopted by the board in 2019, and he's seeking a 3.0% matrix adjustment to these as well.
Motion to accept the proposed 3.0 wage matrix adjustment for non-union part-time and call firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Pete?
Again, effective 7/1/23.
Yes.
Good.
Yep, we're good.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes. We'll do
The
one.
next one's going to take a little bit of discussion, potentially, so.
Oh, look at the time.
What?
Public comment, we get time.
All right. At this time, we'll open it up for public comment. Is anyone here to speak at public comment? If you're here for the hearings, we'll get to those in just a second. Anyone? Okay,
Ben is here.
great. I'm going to go ahead and call up Deputy Chief Ben Selleck.
Okay, or why don't you call it the fire chief?
You, go ahead, Jared. You coming up? Oh, yeah. You could just please state your name and address.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Jared Talbot, 17 Pinecrest Drive. I am a member of the school board. I'm also the representative to the budget committee. However, I speak to this board as my individual capacity of a member of the committee or community. I know most of you, I've worked with most of you, and as we look towards the public comment for the grant we received, I'd like to say thank you and great job on getting the grant. I know that we all get impact fees associated with the project at Bog Road. I know that the school board is getting a tremendous amount of impact fees from that for our projected 14 to 19 students we should be getting from the Bog Road addition. Knowing that the school board and other members of the community have received grants in the past, I know that we have focused to look at CIP and other maintenance issues that we have in order to expend those funds. I also know that we look to try to offset tax revenue as best we can. One of the things that I asked this board to do is to look at our CIP, look at our upcoming budgets that we have. What maintenance items do we have that we could really use this money for to accelerate some of those maintenance items or CIP items? Whether it's at the library, whether it's at Parks and Rec, there are a tremendous amount of monies that we have within CIP that these grants could be used for, as well as offsetting tax revenue. Hopefully we focus and target those items for this grant money, and that we don't focus on adding to our fleets, adding to other things that aren't on our CIP. Like I said, I know that I've done this through the school board. We've done it for the past couple of years. I know that the select board has also done this through other grants that we've received. And I just want to provide that input that hopefully we can continue the work that we've done to make the town better and focus on our CIP items that we have, which are a lot and numerous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Anyone else like to speak at public comment? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And now, Deputy Chief Selleck, would you like to come up, please? And Chief Murray, you can come too.
Do we have to listen to him?
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. I'd like to introduce to you Ben Selleck, our new Deputy Fire Chief with Goffstown Fire Department, and wanted him to come in and meet the board.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Met some of you already.
Nice to see you. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. We're all looking forward to working with you. And if you have any questions for us, feel free. But otherwise, does anyone have any questions for Deputy Chief?
How often do we get to go out on the boat?
We can talk about that later.
Smart move.
Well, Ben and I don't know Ben, biggest families.
No, okay. Goffstown guy.
Yeah, I'm excited to serve my own community.
Great.
Looking forward to working with you.
Yep, congratulations, Ben.
Thanks, man.
I'm sure Bedford was sorry to see you leave.
Highly recommended.
Oh, good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I don't think we'll have any more time, Derek, for you to sneak anything in.
No, I think you could probably go right to the public hearing.
Yeah.
Close
So
enough
we'll
by the
go
time you
ahead
get
and do
done
that.
reading it.
We're on tab 4 of your packets.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit of this first public hearing, and then I'll go into some additional use of funds. So the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs has notified that the town's successful application in the Invest New Hampshire Municipal Per Unit Grant Program. This program provides per-unit incentive payments to municipalities to encourage expedited permitting and construction of new affordable housing units. The town pursued the grant for the Woodland Village Phase 1 and 2, which has 63 affordable housing units. So in regards to our public hearing, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing in accordance with RSA 31:95-B to receive public input and accept and expend unanticipated funds totaling $630,000 from the state of New Hampshire's Invest Municipal Per Unit Grant Program. A vote by the Select Board will be taken immediately after the public hearing. In regards to the use of funds, there are no restrictions on the use of funds. The Select Board should consider town and school use, as well as the needs of the developer of the project. A decision on the expenditure does not need to be made at the 6/12/23 meeting.
Question.
Yeah.
So that means tonight's meeting is just, we are accepting the funds,
Right.
and then we could take other comments later.
You actually have 2 public hearings.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
No, because we
You're getting
accepted it
confused.
tonight.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
yeah.
yep. So you're just taking, you'd be taking a vote to actually
Accept the
accept them,
funds.
and you can decide exactly how you want to expend them in the future, but it is a public hearing.
Okay, so just to clear that, so we're just accepting tonight, and then we can take input and review the input and other items that could come up in the future and set a meeting in July or whatever to
Yes.
where we see the funds should be spent.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
So at this time, we're going to open up the public hearing. And first up, I would like to invite Mr. Scott Gross up to, we received an email from you, and I'd just like to give you a chance to speak on that.
Good evening, everyone. Scott Gross. I'm the business administrator for SAU 19, Goffstown and New Boston. So thank you, Chairwoman Boyer. I'm here tonight just to, on behalf of the school administration. The school board did not know about this grant or this public hearing because it was after, when I learned about it, it was after their last meeting. So I'm not speaking on behalf of the school board. I just want to make that very clear. So the request is just simply to engage in dialogue with the different constituency groups in the community, and the school board being one of them. As you know, anytime that we have increased development in the town of Goffstown, it puts pressures on schools. Our elementary schools in particular are very crowded, and in our CIP, we are looking at various municipal leases and bonds, and even in the out years, a new school. So with that, just requesting that when you do hold meetings with constituent groups, that you would allow the school board to be engaged in those conversations, and knowing that there are numerous needs all across the town whenever there is increased development, that would be very much appreciated. So that was it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Joanne?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director. I just wanted to go over a few things. I know people are aware of this information, but I just wanted to reiterate, and I could hand this out later on. There was a enrollment, excuse me, but I can't stop coughing. There was an enrollment study prepared by Fougere Development about 1.5 years ago for the school district. And I had a chance to read again that information this afternoon. And basically, the way they were looking at this project, they anticipate an additional 14 to 19 students per the entire project of the 72 units. The project itself consists of 1 and 2 bedrooms. There are no 3-bedroom units in this complex. If you took the average of the 14 to 19, just say 16, that would provide 0.22 students per unit. Many years ago, when the planning board would look at how many students would come out of a multifamily project, it used to be about 75, 77. It was always kind of a high number, but the end result never amounted to that, because most people, when they're starting out, they live in an apartment, and once they start to have children or they gain further employment, they buy a house. So the numbers were not producing as many school children as had been once anticipated. The state average right now is 0.33 per unit. So it could fall anywhere between 0.22 and 0.44. So this project is providing $175,898 in school impact fees only. They also have to pay 3 other impact fees, but the school is always the highest, which comes to an average, if you took the 16 students, comes to an average of $11,000 per student. If I looked on the Goffstown's website, and the average cost per pupil in Goffstown right now is about $16,000. So the impact fee is a one-time payment, which is paid once the developer applies for their building permit. But the purpose of it is to pay for costs for new development, not for existing deficiencies that we have throughout the town. So that's just one thing I want to say. And then as far as the affordable housing need, rents have increased in Hillsborough County between 2000 and 2020 by 95%. The vacancy rate right now is 0.5%, which you practically can't even find anything. There are 23,000 residents of Hillsborough County paying a higher rent than they can afford. Most families are paying higher rent and mortgage than they can afford right now. There's also a trend that families are going back to their ancestors' roots and having more of a generational living where, like my house, where the kids come back, the grandkids come back, and everybody else is there. So that's another issue because people can't afford to go out and get their own apartment. The income required to afford a median home price in Hillsborough County, this kind of floored me. In 2019 was $83,000 a year, and in 2020, in 1 year, it jumped to $172,000 a year, I was just amazed by that. The income required for a market rate rental price in 2019 was $55,000, in 2020, $66,000. So it jumped $10,000 just in 1 year to be able to afford a market rate apartment. The enrollment, from what I gathered from the Fougere report, the enrollment for the Goffstown school districts is pretty flat with the exception of Maple Avenue, which has been growing at a steady rate since about 2019. They are currently, well, as of October of 2022, they were at 524 students. So that's where the growth is right now. And I think the growth has been at Maple Avenue for years, and that's why you see all the portable classrooms there. But I also wanted to just reiterate that although there were no restrictions for this $10,000 per unit, because what's happening is the $630,000 comes into the town, and that's based off the number of units, off the number of affordable units, I should say. So that's why we're receiving $630,000, because there's 62 or 63 units. It's based on a formula that was put together initially by the governor, and then the BEA got involved and put in some other restrictions. But the purpose of the $10,000 per unit is an incentive program that was offered to the municipalities so that they would approve the affordable housing in the first place. So I don't want that to get lost, that all of a sudden we have this big pile of money that's come into town and we're going to use it on various items that, you know, each department feels that are needed. I'm a resident here, I'm a taxpayer. I've been living here for almost 40 years, so I know what's going on here. I just would hate to see our needs, our annual needs that continuously happen year after year, to be put in front of the needs of many, many people who cannot afford a place to live right now. And I think this company has stepped forward. This project has been ongoing for the past 20 years with various, well, not even various, there was 2 owners, and they couldn't make it go, and they finally sold it off to Dakota Partners, and Dakota Partners is an established company, stepped forward and actually made something happen with it. They did get caught up in the pandemic, just because work slowed down or stopped at one point. And then when it did come back together, their subs were gone, they had to start all over, and they were having difficulty getting supplies at that time, as well as just the increase in cost of the supplies. So I think, you know, there's been a lot of things that have happened that we had no control over, but they did happen. And I just want the board to understand that you know, housing is an issue out there, and this is the only project, when this grant came along, this was the only project in our town that would be eligible to apply for it, because as you know, the Factory Street project will be market rate when they do set their rates, which they haven't done yet. So thank you.
Can I just ask her one question? Is there any detailed information from the governor's office on the purpose of this? And is it just the governor's office, or did it come from legislature that promoted this?
It came from the governor. He went to the VEA. Taylor Caswell was in charge of it from the VEA, and then he then directed it to his staff, which was Andrew Dorset. I think before this is finally, well, I shouldn't say I think, before this is finally approved and the money is in your hands, it does have to go to the governor and council for approval.
So whatever we decide to spend the funds on, Derek, maybe you know this, has to be approved by the governor's and council?
No, not how you spend the funds, but the fact that they're approving, they're giving you the final approval
Okay.
for the grant itself. So they won't tell you how to spend the funds, but the way the program is set up, it's definitely called the incentive portion of the program is to incentivize, it was to incentivize the municipalities in the first place to approve affordable housing. As you know, whenever you hear even just multifamily housing come through, well, at least in the planning board world, people immediately are like, no, not in my backyard. So affordable housing has even worse stigma to it. I was actually born in the projects of Manhattan in New York City, and so I'm very proud of affordable housing. And I think it's needed. Those projects are still there many, many, many years later. So that's how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on public comments? Come on.
Jeremy Vieira from Dakota Partners, and Penn Lindsay, also from Dakota Partners. Thanks
Hello.
for having us. Nice to see you all again.
Thank you. And thank you, Joanne. And Joanne has done a wonderful job explaining the project and kind of our goals for affordable housing, the crisis of affordable housing we have in the country right now. Not just New Hampshire, New Hampshire as well, but throughout the country. So a couple points that Joanne has already mentioned. We worked in close collaboration with Joanne and Derek to formulate, put all the materials together, work with them to put the materials together for the application. I believe we were here, I believe most of you folks were here as well, a few months ago when we came to request that the submission go through. So thank you all for that. Goffstown has been an incredible partner on this project. It's clear that everyone in this town is very interested in affordable housing and really has a heart for it. It is a project and a business that I am extremely proud to be a part of. It's, market rate has its place, but I think, especially in the current situation we are in this state and in this country, I'm especially proud to be a part of affordable housing. This particular project, as Joanne mentioned, is 43 units. For those 43 units, we had 147 applicants. And then in addition to that, another 128 folks reached out immediately after the application period closed to submit their interest in the project. So we currently have a wait list on the project of 86 folks. That just speaks to the demand for these 2 to 1, a little more than 2 to 1 on these units. The rents range from about $600 for a 1-bedroom to just over $900 on a 1-bedroom, and the 2s from 11 to 14. Significantly below the market rate, significantly below what I imagine the other up-and-coming projects that are our market rate down the street will be renting for. So we're very proud of that. For residents, it is a home run. It is a lottery. It allows them to afford a beautiful, clean, brand-new apartment, something they could never afford otherwise on their means, and it's always tied to that person's income. So the way it is by income band, so you never spend more than 30%. The goal is that no one ever spends 30%, more than 30% of their income. The project is paid or will be paying around $760,000 in various fees, $180,000 in improvement fees on the road, Main and Pleasant Street, an additional $285 or so in various impact fees, a large portion of that going to the school, as Joanne so eloquently explained. So we're here to basically ask, please accept these funds. I think it's a fantastic program that the governor has outlined. This particular project, unfortunately, the timing of its start was right in smack dab in COVID. We lost our main site subcontractor due to illness around COVID. They had to back out. Unfortunately, that caused all of our other bids to expire right at a time where the inflation in this country was taking off, especially in the construction market, supply chain effects and all that. So it's a really challenged project financially right now. We're a couple months away from the first units coming online. We've been working diligently to get it going and through this COVID time. We've hit some momentum, and we think the first units are going to be opening up and available for TCO in the next 2 months or so. So we're asking that, in addition to the town approving these funds, that they be allocated to the project to make this project whole and take it to completion. It would be, I think, very important for our residents and certainly important for us. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't writing fast enough. What was the price range for the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom?
The 1-bedrooms range from about $600 to $900 for the 1-bedrooms. The 2s from $1191 to $1429.
Thank you.
And that's based on income?
That is based on income, yeah. But generally, there are a range. There's 30%, 50%, 60% units. There is a handful of market, but the 63, there's only 11 of those. And that's based on, if you're at 60% of the area median income, the calculation is 30% of that number, and that is the rent. And that is for, on phase 1, it's a 60-year period that is set for. Now, to be clear, the goal is that stays that way forever, but it is absolutely set for 60 years on phase 1 and phase 2, 30 years.
How many years?
30 on phase 2 and 60 on phase 1.
Good.
Go ahead, Jim.
No.
Oh, you're good, okay. Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
good.
The good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'll let you do.
Anyone else here for public comment? Okay, this time we'll go ahead and close the public comment. Pete, did you have a?
Yeah, well, I think now was the time we're going to decide to vote on it.
Yeah, so the recommendation is that the board make a motion to accept the unanticipated funds.
Motion to accept the unanticipated funds totaling $630,000 from Invest New Hampshire Municipal per unit grant program.
Second.
Motion by Pete, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes. Yes.
Now, what I would like to do is, anybody that's interested in acquiring some of these funds, put something in writing to us and the reason, and we can review and maybe call people in to ask them questions at a later meeting.
Okay.
Would that, what do you think?
You want more specified
Yeah, I don't
direction on
want,
what?
just give it to me, I'll take care of it type thing, you know? I mean,
Sure. Do you
And do you
want?
want to put it out, whether it's a month or 2 months, or do
say
you
toward
want
the end of July or something.
maybe the second meeting in July?
Yeah,
Okay.
is that okay? Don't look at me, I mean, it's everybody else, if that's good.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want Derek to solicit reaching out to people?
Yeah, I can
Well,
create
I
a,
think, yeah.
yeah, I can create a public notice we can put up on the website and reach out to community groups as well as, people that have spoken here tonight.
Yep.
When did the governing council vote?
I believe their meeting was on the 28th. We signed the necessary, you granted authority at your last meeting to sign the necessary paperwork. We'll provide them indication that you voted to accept the funds. And then I believe this is on the agenda for the 28th of June.
So we should wait, we shouldn't do anything until they approve it.
Yes, until they approve it, yeah.
Yeah, let's not spend it till we got it, right?
Not count our chickens.
Thank you, Derek. And so we're gonna skip over DPW and go to our 6:30 public hearing. All right, so this public hearing is for a purchase of land. The town seeks to purchase a small section of land for highway right-of-way. This 1,357 square foot area will allow the DPW to construct new sidewalks on East Union Street and slightly realign the intersection with South Mass Street for better truck and bus turning movements. The funding source for the $5,000 purchase is the Public Works Department road plan budget. The Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing in accordance with 41:14-A to accept public input regarding the town's purchase of a 1,357 square feet of land for a highway right-of-way at 81 South Mass Street, tax map 30, lot 46. The purchase will allow the DPW to construct a new sidewalk on East Union Street and slightly realign the intersection with South Mass Street for better truck and bus turning movements. A second public hearing is scheduled for Monday, 6/26/23 at 6:30 p.m. The Select Board is scheduled to vote on this purchase on 7/10/2023. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. So we have a second public hearing scheduled for Monday, June 26th at 6:30 p.m. Does any Select Board members have any comments or questions? No? Okay. All right, on to the next one. This public hearing is a process for the acceptance of an executory interest of a 73-acre conservation easement at the Clark Ridge Farm on Patty Hill Road, New Hampshire Route 13. Municipal grants and awards have been secured to cover 92% of the cost. In regards to the public hearing, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing in accordance with 41:14-A to accept public input pertaining to the town accepting an executory interest in a 73-acre conservation easement being conveyed to the Piscataqua Land Conservation at the Clark Ridge Farm on Patty Hill Road, New Hampshire Route 13. Map 10, Lot 3 and 3-1, and Map 11, Lots 1, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, and Lot 1-6. The Select Board is scheduled to vote on accepting an executory interest on 7/10/23. A second public hearing is scheduled for Monday, 6/26 at 6:30 p.m. The Select Board is scheduled to vote on this purchase on 7/10/2023. We'll now open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak? David?
If you want me to give a brief summary or not.
We already
I
have.
think the Select Board is good on that. Does anyone have any questions for?
Didn't you already make us a little bit of
Yeah, I
it?
did.
Yeah, right, I thought you did.
Thank you for offering.
And for anybody that's interested, the public packet does have all the presentation material from David.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Again, we will have a second hearing scheduled for June 26th at 6:30 p.m. We'll take our vote on July 10th of 2023. Okay. And let's see. So in regards to this public hearing, the Goffstown Board is conducting this public hearing in accordance with 41:14-A to accept public input regarding the granting of a permanent easement across the town's rail trail, tax map 19, lot 47-6, to Nunick Holdings LLC, owner of tax map 5, lot 49, and William B. Roberts and Elizabeth H. Roberts as trustees of the William B. Roberts 1997 Revocable Trust, and Elizabeth H. Roberts and William B. Roberts as trustees of the Elizabeth H. Roberts 1997 Revocable Trust, co-owners of tax map 2, lot 59. A second public hearing is scheduled for Monday, June 26th at 6:30 PM, and the Select Board is scheduled to vote on this purchase on July 10th, 2023. Now go ahead and open it up for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Pretty quiet out there.
Sir, come in.
My name is Bill Roberts, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have or make a summary, but I see that Mr. Horn has given you the basics of it.
Yes.
I think we heard about this one already, right?
Yep.
We already
Does
talked
anyone
about
have
this
any
once
questions?
before.
Yes, this came to you
Yeah.
before they went for site plan
Right,
approval.
right.
They have conditional site plan approval, and I have highlighted in your packet on page 23, the condition that speaks to release of interest in the former Buzzell Road, as well as select board approval for the easement.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. At this time, we will close the public hearing. And as a reminder, we have a second public hearing scheduled for June 26th at 6:30, and we will vote on July 10th, 2023. All right. I think that is all the public hearings for this evening.
Get those out of the way.
All right. So we will take it back to DPW. Adam, you're up. We're at tab 5.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, just a couple things tonight. First item, I think I'm at tab 5 in the packet. Tetro Drive, we've got the project to connect sidewalk from the which will be the newly realigned rail trail behind the gas station complex down Tetro Drive and connects back down with the rail trail. This project's a couple hundred feet of raised sidewalk with granite curbing, some drainage because of the new curbing, but also drainage to improve the existing situation where we have a little bit of runoff down to the state's right-of-way. At the last meeting, the board authorized receiving quotes for this project. We had one quote from John Neville Excavation, who's doing the rail trail work. The board allowed us to get a few more quotes just to make sure we're getting a good price on this without going to a full sealed bid process in order to get the project done on their current timeline. So we tried to solicit 4 different bids. We had obviously the Neville Excavation bid from the previous week, $128,137. Preston Excavation provided a bid for $143,061, and you have both copies of those in your packet. And then we received 2 no bids, both for scheduling reasons, just with a short turnaround. J&J Excavation and Uncanunic Mountain Trucking neither could bid on the project. So with the board's permission, I'd like to award the Tetro Drive Drainage and Sidewalk project to John Neville Excavation in the amount of $128,137.
Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Are there any rail trail monies coming back to the town for this?
None planned. This was part of our road plan budget, but if the board would like to speak to our rail trail operative, we have one in the audience tonight.
But I think they're doing the part behind the gas station over to the road, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That was their part, yeah.
Yep, so this
Okay.
amount here would be in addition to their budgeted project. Yep.
I recommend award the Tetro Drive Drainage and Sidewalk project to Johnny Neville Excavation in the amount of $128,137.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Collis. Any questions?
Just one question. You got on page 548, you got a couple of things highlighted in yellow, but I was just looking at asphalt price quote is based on 665 at the time of proposal. Does that mean it could change? And would that be significant, possibly?
It probably won't be hugely significant in such a short turnaround. If it was 6 months later, you could see a pretty drastic swing, but usually 1 month to the next, it's not terrible. That was the May, I think, State of New Hampshire asphalt liquid price, so should be very similar.
But that is a movable part, right?
Okay, yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Second item I had, no memo, but in your packets you did have a prospective bid specification for a live floor trailer, very similar to the last couple of years that we've had, with a couple of little modifications based on the some of the fitment issues that we had with the most recent one.
This is on page 8 of your packet.
8.
Okay. But with the board's permission, I'd like to get that out advertised so we can award bids at a future meeting.
Any questions?
Standard, right?
Yeah. Do you need a motion on that?
I don't need a motion on it, do
Uh, typically, yes, you do approve the RFPs.
Okay, great. We'll take a motion.
Oh, I see. This is the whole.
Yeah, this is a total.
Make a motion that we approve the RFP put out by the DPW director for the live floor, walking floor solid waste trailer.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Jim. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? All right, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And another one didn't make the pack, but I just want to give you a quick update from the last meeting. We had briefly talked about the roll-off trailer versus roll-off truck issue. Might have been a little bit of fool's gold with some of the used trucks that were out there. It looks like it'd be about a $300,000 plus for a new truck, about $200,000 for something that's going to be reasonable from a used perspective. So we're probably going to revert back to the original plan of a trailer unit. So most likely at the next meeting, I'll bring you an RFP for that advertisement, but had a few more calls to make on that. But just wanted, there were some questions from the last meeting, so I want to follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, back to Derek.
Yes, we left on page 39, on the upper right-hand corner.
Rick's not here?
No, you have a request from the Parks and Rec. They had been sourcing out a F-350 dump truck, which is part of the 2023 operating budget in CIP. They have located a truck. It is similar to a state bid model. The main difference being that it has a gross vehicle weight rating of an additional 3,000 pounds. And it is available this month. So Rick has requested the board waive or allow sole source purchase of the vehicle. Again, this is more truck than what is under the state bid contract. Theirs is, again, a little bit smaller for $50,395, and Rick is a all-in price for $52,439. Sorry. So he is again requesting that the board allow him to purchase that.
Derek, with the state bid price, does that include any, will this have any additional fees if we purchase it outright that the state bid wouldn't have?
No, this has the government discount already included in. I will say that he is currently, this is just for the chassis, so this is a dump, so he needs a dump body. He budgeted $80,000 for this unit, so he's trying to source out the dump at this point.
It looks like it's available right away.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Then there was talk of him keeping his old truck. Has he talked to you about that?
He has mentioned that he might have raised that at a previous Parks and Rec Commission meeting. Do you want me to have him come in and speak to you about that?
Well, I mean, I understand what he's saying, but my concern is when you keep an old truck, you keep a truck like that, 3-4 years down the road, it needs to be replaced, and then all of a sudden, you're buying a new truck, so you just increased your fleet. Not by accident, on purpose, And I'm concerned that I don't want to continue to increase our fleet. And I think we need to keep an eye on that. We probably should take a look at what we have for fleet vehicles now.
Okay, we can provide that. Fortunately, we have a lot of that information gathered for CIP at this moment, so I'm sure that we can bring that forward to the board at a future meeting.
So I make a motion, we approve the purchase of the Ford F-350 at $52,439.
Second.
Motion by Pete, seconded by Collis. Any other questions or comments? And then Derek will have Rick in to talk about the trade.
My sense was you're interested in being town-wide, not just Parks and Rec?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, what happens is you keep another truck, and then all of a sudden, 2 years down the road, well, we gotta replace this truck, when we really didn't plan on. He thought it would be nice to be able, because it doesn't owe us anything, that, you know, he could keep it and use it for another couple of years. But then in a couple of years, he's looking for a new truck, and you really, you gotta be careful.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No, it's okay, no. I just got, does he need 2 trucks? I don't see that.
It's convenient for him to have the 2 trucks. It's more of a convenience, where he can hook the trailer up to, and haul a tractor around, and then some of the other guys can be using the other truck someplace else. But, you know, right now, when they gotta tow something, they're using the pickup trucks.
Yeah, it's pretty rough on the pickup truck.
Yeah.
I agree with this, but I also think you got a good point there. Keep an eye on it.
I think didn't he mention at one point in time, if he were to be able to save that truck, he was gonna take the dump body off and make a flatbed?
I think that came up during budget discussions
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
A suggestion of one of the budget committee members.
That's what he's talking about
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, just so that we all know. Yep, no, that's fine.
All right, we have a motion. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? All right, motion passes.
So at the very next page, you might have a fold-out matrix. That actually goes with your next item. It looks like it was put in the wrong place. But on page 46, I've got a bid award recommendation for consulting services for classification and compensation study. We did receive 8 bids in. They were very thorough in their responses to what we were seeking. Again, there are copies of all these items in your meeting room, as well as some of my notes on some of the different items. There were 3 that have experience in New Hampshire, and we talked with some of the other communities, as well as had experience ourselves with one of the vendors. It's my recommendation to the board that you award the bid to PayPoint HR. They're out of Maryland. For a cost of $35,000. This would be for the review of the compensation only. It would not include review of benefits. Their proposed timeline, their employee input, as well as communication, and their experience, as well as reference with similar size communities in New Hampshire, were really the driving factors behind that recommendation.
Will we need somebody to review the benefits, or do they do that at an extra fee?
I think that that's something that we're starting to hear from either new employees that are coming in from other departments or from other towns, as well as we haven't heard it as much on the exit interviews. I definitely think that is something that will need to be considered at some point. And perhaps as we get closer to the end, we can either just put out that piece for another, we could either add it on, or theirs was pretty costly for that review. We might be able to bring in some of the vendors just to look at that.
So they did offer it, it was just expensive.
They did offer it, but it would double the cost. So
You had budgeted $50,000, right?
yes, yes, yep.
Motion to award the bid for consulting services for classification and compensation study to PayPoint HR of Davidsonville, Maryland, in the bid amount of $35,000, and authorize the town administrator to review and sign the contract to start the study.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Collis. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain?
On the table when you came in tonight, there were 2 additional items. I apologize for those. The first is appointment of health officer with the change in the job description to the fire captain of Division of Community Risk Reduction. That has the role of health officer for the town. So the request is to approve the attached nomination form. You have the original in the signature folder. So there's that request.
Make a motion to appoint Fire Captain Bill Connor, Division of Community Risk Reduction, as the Town of Goffstown Health Officer.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain?
And the other one, to make a motion to appoint Town Administrator Derek Horn as the Town of Goffstown Interim Deputy Health Officer.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Motion passes.
Congratulations.
And the next item is, this is a request for authorization. IT has started working on town website implementation. This was part of our operating budget as Brian started reaching out to different vendors. We got the sense that responses could be either around or above the purchasing policy's $25,000 dollar limit, but not significantly above, but we did anticipate they would come in above. Last year you did allow for procurement of technology equipment for IT, but it did not include software. So there's a provision in there that's highlighted. So the request is for you to extend this one time, the provisions of section 1.11 to this website project. Many of these, we wouldn't go out necessarily to a typical website creator. There are out-of-the-box, or I guess in-the-box solutions for municipal websites. There are only a handful of companies that do them, but they do them very well. Engineers, applicants, those kind of things, they are used to looking at those municipal websites and finding items, so they have a standard. We currently use open source software, which is difficult to maintain, and there's only a handful of people in IT that can update it, whereas this will allow us to kind of source out some of those easier postings. So, and I guess finally, with a fiscal year ending June 30th, we've been advised by some company, at least one company, that they might be able to give us better end of the year pricing if we are able to negotiate now. So the hopes are that we would get that price and bring it back to you at your next meeting so that we can move forward with this project.
Okay, so how many vendors out there do you think will get to respond?
We've identified 3 at this point, and I know that Brian's talked to at least 2 of them. But there are two that do the majority of New Hampshire websites, and we have identified a third that is a potential one as well.
So we're really not single sourcing. We're just not going out for bid.
Correct.
We're getting quotes.
We're getting quotes rather. Right. Yes. Yep.
Motion to allow the town to extend the provision of section 1.11 technology enhancement in the town's purchasing policy to the website project, forego the RFP/bid submittal process, and allow IT to seek quotes from the vendors who specialize in municipal websites. And I would imagine, if I add on, to be brought to us on our next meeting?
Yes.
Which is what, 28th, 26th?
26th.
26th.
Second.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Okay, now we have new business. We have the department head evaluation process on here to talk about department head evals. Derek, can you recap the timeline that we did last year?
You did it about this time
Yeah,
last year.
it was.
Yes. I don't remember the exact dates, but I think you used the beginning of June to do that, and you just held it on an off night, one of the off Monday nights to do that.
So we will send out the self-evaluation forms like we have in the past.
Yep, I can do that, and then if you
We used we made some modifications to the self-eval, and then I think that the off night worked good so that we could focus on meeting with each department head. Is everyone still okay with doing that this year?
Yeah, I think we need to do it that way.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
Derek, do you have any other department head input for us?
No,
to
I didn't reach
consider?
out to department heads on this issue because I know that you and I talked about adding this to the agenda last week, so I can do that. I guess I will poll the department heads and see if they have any planned vacations or anything that would interfere and let you know. And then
Then you'll send out the same form we used last year.
Yep.
Great. Okay.
And then maybe at your next meeting, you could pick or finalize the date
Sure.
when you want to do that.
That'd be great. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
All right, and then for old business, I did, well, I guess this could be new business too, but I asked Danielle to pull up the numbers from the wellness committee expenses and the wellness program through Health Trust so that we could talk about an employee appreciation event and or something. So Danielle, we didn't have a chance to talk about this, but just to confirm, these are available funds as of right now? Okay, great. So as of right now, we have $2,500 from the budgeted wellness committee expenses, $1,000 from the wellness program through Health Trust, $1,750 from budgeted civic ceremony expenses.
What did we end up spending last year?
We spent 5,000.
Yeah, but we gave out a bunch of,
Well, we have that too. So we have 400,000 points available on our card, our rewards card, and $1,000 is the equivalent of about, 100,000 points is the equivalent of about $500.
So all in all, last year you were, with all the various vendors in total, just over 5,000.
does that include the gift cards?
Yes, the gift cards were points-based, so it wasn't technically a cash value. So if you wanted to do gift cards again, that would come out of the 400,000 points that are available.
Okay.
So when you talk about that, we want to do the same thing we did last year, more or less?
Does anyone have any other thoughts or opinions?
Don't matter to me.
As employees, what do you think?
We got a lot of very positive
Yeah,
feedback
I
from
thought
the
it was
evening.
great.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of positive feedback.
I'm good with doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Or something similar. A
So,
couple of things we didn't use much last year, that, you know, we could
yeah, we
revisit
could make
that.
adjustments for sure. I know the magician and the ice cream truck were big hits, and the music and food,
Yep.
and the one bounce house.
Lemonades, the Axe
We
Roll.
cannot
Oh,
do
the
the,
food.
we can't do the bounce houses. We've been advised by Primex that insurance-wise, we are not going to be doing
Too dangerous?
Really?
No rebounding.
no
Devices.
rebounding, anything like that. We are working with the school to see if perhaps the school and the town want to start exploring, and we would bring this to you, but explore special riders, insurance riders for events that use those. But for the foreseeable future, there's not going to be bounce houses on.
How does Primex feel about the axe throwing?
They were actually fine with that.
Can't have a
You're
bounce
throwing
house.
them away from you.
Okay, so it looks
That was a
like,
hit too.
yeah, that was, the
yeah.
music, I think everything went over really well.
Yeah.
So based on the numbers Danielle just gave us, we have about $5,250 in cash, and then we have 400,000 points available. So we have quite a bit to use. For gift cards, do you remember how many gift cards we got last year? I know we used some over the course of the year too.
Yeah, I have the list on my laptop, so I can pull that up and get you that info before the end of the meeting. It was pretty high. I want to say we had at
I think it
least
was like 40 or 50.
40 or 50 gift cards
Yeah.
that were all
Towards
valued
the
at
end
like
of the evening, they're
$25.
kinda,
Yeah.
Anybody got this number? And then I think, if I remember right, we might have had a little too much food too.
We did, but LeMay's also was really great and gave us,
Well, I mean, we'll use Rick
Okay.
again. I mean, you can't.
yeah.
'Cause I think it was the police department, was all grabbing it down there at the end.
Yeah, they just turned the lights on and took it back.
We did bring some to the two.
They did bring some to
Yes,
the,
they did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now all of our,
Some of them couldn't come to the event, so.
everyone got some. Okay, great. So then I guess the next thing for us would be to pick a date. What did we do last year? July? Oh, shoot. I can't remember.
I think it was the end of August because it was after the pools had closed, but
You're right.
before schools began.
You're right.
We did a Friday night too, right, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't Friday night, I believe.
No, it was like a
No, I think it was
Tuesday.
like a Tuesday or Thursday. It was,
was
it was
You
an
did it,
evening.
you did it on August 25th,
Okay.
It was a Thursday.
which is a Thursday.
So if we did it the 24th, that's a Thursday again.
And I think from a town perspective, the planning board typically does not meet the fourth Thursday of August. They take one, usually they meet second and fourth, but they've historically not met, and I think that might have been why we chose that night.
Yeah, I remember really trying not to have anything going on that night if we could help
So
it.
let's target the 24th of August, how's that?
Okay.
Jim, can you make it?
I'm there. I'm already thinking about it.
Good, you're gonna be doing a dunk tank.
You got a bounce house, I'm definitely there.
Okay, great. Sounds good. We'll get working on that again. Thank you, Danielle, for putting these numbers together. Appreciate that. Okay, anyone else have old business?
Well, we're not, just to go through here, nothing's working on number 1, right?
Oh, wait, you want to go to the action matrix?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Kelly,
What are you looking at?
anything on, need to make that chair now, not vice chair.
Doesn't matter. We could just take it off anyways. Can't
Yeah.
meet with Danielle anymore during the...
Well, I think also we've got several, we're going through the HR applications right now, and we're going to be having interviews, and I think that would be something that the new person would be taking over anyway, so I can take that off.
I would
Okay,
hope so.
we're gonna take that off.
We still have a running list of things and lots of notes on things that need to be looked at, so that will definitely give, with the prioritization that Danielle and I did, a good place for that person to start, but with me being on orders, I just can't meet during the day anymore, so.
And Collis, you guys meeting still?
Yeah, we still meeting. We do need to take some action. We need to resolve the property issue on the one abutment in Rotary Park. It's kind of been in a holding pattern. As you may recall, we got a letter from Rotary with a proposal to acquire the property, and we really need to deal with that as a board, to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to respond to that proposal. We're going to counter proposal, or what are we going to do? Because that's a real threshold issue, because if we can't figure out where the bridge is going to land, make landfall, the project can't move forward.
My thoughts, okay, is if we lose the dam, are we still gonna
Well-
put that bridge in?
Well, we didn't need to talk with Dave. See Dave? Yeah, there he is, back there. Yeah, I think we still need the bridge. I mean, that's going to come, I don't want to speak for Goffstown, Friends of the Goffstown Rail Trail, but, I mean, you can't complete the rail trail unless there's some way to get across the river.
Well,
Now,
there is,
if
you
if
can
the-
still come down and go around across the
Well, you
bridge,
could, yeah, you could come out onto public roads, and there is a workaround. I don't think that's a great idea personally, but at any rate, yeah, if the dam comes out, maybe a totally different bridge. Maybe shorter, maybe a different design, who knows? So that needs to be resolved as well.
So is there any advantage us to negotiate to buy a piece of property if we don't even know what we're doing yet, to buy that piece of property? I'm just asking.
Well, again, I think we know that if a bridge is going in, it's got to make landfall there.
Is a bridge going in?
It's a long ways away. But if we don't have the property available to construct the bridge, then, you know, we can't even get off square one to go towards planning and design and cost estimates and everything else that's gonna go into it, because there's a lot of information that would need to be generated. But, like I say, first of all, I gotta figure out, where's the bridge gonna go? Well, we know one end where it's gonna go, we've gotta figure out where it's gonna land on the other end. And that's, the discussion's been Rotary Park, and that was the proposal they submitted to us, I think it was over a year ago now. So it's been the ball's been in our court, if you will, for a long time. And what do we as a board want to do?
Is there a group out there that can purchase it and donate it to the town?
That would be nice.
Well, I'm just saying,
I don't
because
know.
if the town's gonna buy it, that's a whole new process to go through.
Sure.
As a first chunk of our $630,000.
Well, I
Well-
think before, I think as a board, we have to figure out if this is a priority, because it wasn't voted on by taxpayers. So I just want to be very careful about our intentions. And I know that the intention was for funding and fundraising to happen, to make this happen. But I don't know the ins and outs of what that would mean if we purchased it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of...
I agree, Kelly, there is a whole lot of details that need to go into this. But
Well, I think what has to happen is you have to assume that's where it's gonna land.
Yep, I
And
agree.
then when the system, when it comes up, which could be, who knows, 3, 4, 5 years down the road before the money's ever put together,
Could be,
you know?
it could be. But it's still a threshold issue that needs to be addressed. And what we want to do about it, that's what we'll have to determine as a board. You know, EDC is at these meetings, and they've expressed an interest to continue to work with us. I don't know if they've got opportunities for funds, but...
Well, their funds come from us, and that's,
Well, I know-
the taxpayers haven't approved spending those kind of funds on that kind of a
But
project,
they're-
which they already did.
But they are on this ad hoc committee, and they are one of the partners. That was my point, is they're part of the decision-making on the ad hoc commission.
I guess my question is, who's kind of in charge of the ad hoc committee? Because is it a select board ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Specifically?
Yep, you created
Yep.
the charter.
I remember
Yep,
doing
get a
that, but
charter.
it doesn't fall under anyone else, so.
No, we created it, has a charter with deliverables.
Does anybody know why the Rotary owns that little chunk?
Why?
How come they own that little piece of land?
Luck of the draw, Jim.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that cleaned it all up and developed it,
Yeah.
and put everything in
Yeah.
there, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Back when there was a bridge there?
Yeah.
And
No.
No?
No,
And that was part of their justification for the proposal to purchase it.
I guess my question, Carl, is why would the land need to be purchased to do the conceptual drawings? I mean, even if it wasn't that exact piece, it would be
Well-
relatively close to it, right? Just to kind of start the
Like,
talks
I
about
guess as
it?
an analogy, I mean, you wouldn't move forward with planning, design, and construction of a house if you don't know where the foundation's gonna go.
I understand
So-
that, but this is also, I guess I'm struggling with this isn't, it's hard for us as a select board for me, as a select board member, to say the select board should take this on as a priority for purchasing and things like that if it hasn't gone through the voting process. So we're really saying this is a priority for us as a select board. And if that's true, I guess I'm having a hard time justifying it by saying we're purchasing this land, why would we do that if we haven't approved the project? Do you know, I'm just kind of struggling with the order of it and kind of how it's gone about. I guess I don't really know
putting the cart
enough
before the horse.
about the committee discussions, and that's my fault to know kind of which direction to take.
Well, the committee has also at the last meeting expressed an interest to come in and speak to the board, even if it's in non-public,
Okay.
to try and get some feedback and work together on this and figure out the best path forward. So certainly we could do that, reach out to
Sounds like a
them
good idea.
and put them on an agenda.
Yeah, we could do that.
I don't know, you've got to be careful in non-public.
Right.
Well, and Andy Catarat stopped by last week, and I said it would probably be more appropriate, especially with all the public hearings, to do it on the 26th.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
he's putting together some talking points for what he wants to speak.
In a non-public, or?
No, I know at one point the ad hoc committee did have, that they would potentially like to come in under non-public, but I think, I don't see the need for that necessarily. I think the specifics of any land negotiation, the board can handle by itself in non-public. But I think he wanted to bring the select board up to date on where they stand and some of the obstacles that they see. The acquisition of the land rights was definitely chief one of them.
Yeah, I think the ad hoc committee just assumed it would have to be done in non-public. If it doesn't have to, so be it, all the better.
Okay.
Well, if it has to do with land purchase, that usually
It
does
would,
go into
yes.
non-public. Yep. Mr. David wants to speak. As
David, would you like to come up as a
member
committee
of
member?
the,
Of the member of ad hoc? Oh, I guess I didn't
Not you,
specify
David.
which David, so. No, you can both, go ahead.
Dueling
We have two
Davids.
Davids, and we're both on the ad hoc.
I know, I didn't specify,
David had his
that's
hand
fine.
up.
A couple of ad hocers.
So David Neiman, Conservation Commission, representative of the ad hoc committee. I guess I just want to address why we feel like we're completely confused and not knowing how to go forward, because many of the things stated here are correct. You know, we could have a conceptual design, we could explore, you know, funding mechanisms, and funding mechanisms could include the cost of acquiring any piece of land for the landing. We just have no idea what kind of number we're talking about here. We don't know what the magnitude of this offer on the table is. And so it makes it extremely difficult for us to contemplate that, or even reach out to funding sources and have discussions with them about what's possible. Because the first thing they're going to ask is you own the land, or no, what are you going to buy the land? How much is it going to cost? Well, I don't know. It's just black hole.
Do you mean what the offer on the table from
Rotary.
the Rotarians?
Yeah.
We already know what that is. We have
Well,
that price.
the select
You
board
know.
knows.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And you've
But-
discussed that in non-public.
Right.
All right.
I just wanted to clarify.
But we're the committee that's trying to evaluate, you know, what the magnitude of this might be, what the funding sources might be, and we just don't know. It's a mysterious black box to us.
Okay.
So that's why we keep requesting that either there's some resolution or somehow we can have a private discussion, just so we know what we're dealing with and how to approach it. That's
Okay,
all.
thank you for clarifying. Mr. Pierce?
David
you may-
Pierce, I'm also on the Ad hoc Bridge Committee, representing Friends of the Rail Trail. I'd like to address a point that you had in discussion concerning funding of buying the abutment. If you go through the scenario that you had a transportation enhancement grant that covered design of the bridge, construction of the bridge, and the purchase of land, then the purchase of the land could be 80% covered by the grant. But there's a problem with that approach. Because you're using federal money, you have to have a third-party assessment on the current worth of the land, how it's being used presently. And you cannot spend more than that out of the federal money to buy the land. So you're constrained in the amount that you might pay for a piece of land that's only like 30 by 40 feet, based on the valuation of its current worth. I suspect that valuation would be much lower than what the owners are anticipating.
That's only if we use federal money?
If you use federal money. It has to be a third-party appraisal on the current use of the land. I believe you mentioned that if the impoundment behind the dam goes away, and Mother Nature is now makes a river that's just 40 yards wide, much like what the river is at the Blueberry Farm on Parker Station Road. That does not necessarily mean you're going to get a shorter bridge.
Well, nobody would think that, no.
Yeah, because the constraint is you have to have the approach end up at Main Street, which is a high elevation. So you cannot make a shorter bridge at a lower elevation. The ramp will not be ADA compatible.
Thank you. All right, we'll certainly let you know when we're going to meet, and we'll hopefully clarify some of those questions for you both. Thank you. All right, anyone else on, oh, we're on the action matrix.
Yeah, what's the situation there? What's,
The excavator's gonna be out there next week to cap sewer and water. And then once that's done, the demolition contractor will be in, so we're just coordinating with the abutting property owners. Power's been shut off and Roger's just working on the last issues, so, yep.
And once we get an official date, we can put out a notice.
Yes.
That work will be
Yeah.
happening. Great.
Send out some notices to the public, use our sign board, message board out there to let people know well in advance, because it's not going to be pretty for a few days.
Well, they're not gonna be, we're hoping that they are not gonna be in the right of way. So, so that's why we're coordinating with the property owners. All the sewer and water is being capped on the inside of the sidewalk, so.
Okay, great. Chip for the Grassmere 88 elevator.
Yep, so we're finishing up the grant application. The HGC met, I think 2 weeks ago.
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
After getting news that we could proceed with the grant application, putting the final touches on that so I can share it with HGC members, they can look it over, and that will be submitted next week.
Great. 2 vehicles out of service still, DPW? They're still out, okay. All right, anyone else, new or old business? Okay.
motion to go into non-public on the RSA 91-A. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, I'll do one more.
Public comment.
Open it up for our final public comment for the evening. Would anyone here like to speak at public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Thank you. Go.
Go into non-public session RSA 91-A:32, D, land, B, hiring, A, compensation, and C, adversely affecting reputation. Get my tongue.
Motion by Pete.
Second.
Second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? All right, well, this will conclude the public portion of tonight's June 12th Select Board meeting.